Okay, welcome back, guys. Today we're going to talk about the blood sugar bear trap. Before we get started, let me just go over the disclaimers and a few other minor things, and then we'll get started with this discussion today. This is not a medical channel. We don't discuss anything that's medical. We're discussing my journey from type 2 diabetes to the reversal of type 2 diabetes and how I was able to accomplish that, and hopefully that will help you and other diabetics around the world put you on the right path to success with your diabetes reversal, type 2 diabetes reversal. Any advice you hear or anything that you hear on this particular channel that you might want to try, I suggest that you talk to your medical provider first to make sure that it's appropriate for you and your condition and your complications associated with your diabetes. Okay, great. So make sure you subscribe, like, share, and comment on this video because I like your feedback. Okay, guys, let's get started. So the blood sugar beer trap. So if you're a diabetic and beer is your beverage of choice, you may wonder what it means for your health. If you hear some background noise there, it's really raining outside and the wind is blowing really hard, so I apologize for that. How does this affect your diabetic conditions? Right? So how does beer affect your diabetic condition? Is there a connection between the alcohol content, the amount of carbs, and the effects on your health? And whether you're drinking a light craft beer or a dense lager, it's vital to know how beer and other alcohol affect your blood glucose or your blood sugar levels. So let's discuss more about beer, blood glucose, or blood sugar, and your health. So what are the effects of beer on your blood sugar or your blood glucose? While beer and other alcohols can affect your blood sugar levels instantly after drinking, the effects can be seen up to 12 hours after. And that's true. And I'll tell you guys at the end, I'll tell you guys how I did it and how I realized this as well. So up to 12 hours after you've consumed your drink. So here are a few things you should know about beer and how it can influence your blood glucose levels. Beer can increase blood sugar levels. Beer contains carbohydrates, which gets absorbed into the bloodstream relatively quickly, leading to increased glucose levels. We all know this as diabetics. I think the doctor's advice typically is always to stay away from carbs. So this is what they mean. These carbs are not the best carbs. Usually elevated blood sugar is seen shortly after consuming alcohol. And drinking a lot of beer can reduce blood glucose levels. But this isn't always a great thing if you're a type 2 diabetic. I know you want to reduce your blood sugar, but there are caveats like everything we talk about, pros and cons for everything. So you got to use some common sense and moderation with a lot of the things that we talk about on this channel. According to the American Diabetes Association, while hypoglycemia or low blood sugar levels can result from several activities, drinking alcohol increases the risk of hypoglycemia for those who have type 1 diabetes and those with type 2 diabetes using insulin. So hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, guys. The effects can range from mild symptoms such as fatigue, sweating, and an irregular heartbeat to more severe symptoms such as confusion, abnormal behavior, blurred vision, and even seizures and loss of consciousness. So this is how serious this can be. Beer impacts your blood glucose levels. Alcohol stimulates the appetite, so you may unknowingly overeat when you're drinking your best brew with your meal. It will increase blood glucose levels and can contribute to weight gain as well. So I mean, there are more pros and cons associated with this that you should be aware of outside of the realm of just being a diabetic. Alcohol interferes with blood sugar regulation. According to the NIH, the National Institute of Health, alcohol, like beer, can affect the hormones that regulate blood sugar levels. Alcohol can disrupt the body's metabolic process, interfering with the liver's glucose production and potentially leading to lower blood sugar levels, which can be good or bad, right? It can also reduce the body's insulin sensitivity, which can hamper efficient blood sugar regulation. Alcohol can affect diabetes medications as well. Medication and alcohol don't mix, particularly when it comes to diabetes drugs. Alcohol can interfere with diabetes medications, making them less effective or give them a dangerous effect. So, like anything we talk about here, seek the advice of your medical provider with regard to the alcohol you can drink, the amount of alcohol you can drink. And particularly here, we're talking about beer. There's wine, there's, you have your hard liquor. I'll have separate videos for those because those, they all have their nuances, and I like to talk about those and my experience with those and how I've been able to drink alcohol in moderation and still control my blood sugar in a safe way. So how do our bodies deal with carbohydrates, guys? Glucose is a carbohydrate which is the body's primary energy source, which gives your cells the energy required to live and perform their many duties. In other words, glucose is a fuel for your cells, providing them with the energy they need to live and function. Your body absorbs the glucose you eat. Immediately after a meal, your bloodstream is rich with glucose, your blood sugar, right? So your blood sugar levels can spike just eating right after. So meaning what they call your postprandial levels. That's what your blood sugar looks like right after you eat. So your body uses some of this glucose or blood sugar and stores the rest in the liver and the muscles. So I just got finished working out again, guys, because I make my videos after I work out, like I always say in my videos. And that is the reason I work out. You would think because I'm a former military guy and I used to be involved in high tempo operations that I would be a workout freak and love it like you see in the movies. I hate working out. I've always hated working out. Even in the military, I hated working out. But I do it because it stores some of the blood sugar in the muscles, and I want to get that used up so I can provide more blood sugar into the muscles and get it out of my bloodstream. And of course, it stores it in your liver as well for normal functioning people. So hours after you've eaten, however, your blood glucose levels drop. It triggers the body to release hormones like glucagon, which instructs the liver to break down the stored glucose, or the blood sugar, the glycogen, into free glucose that the body's cells can use for energy. And this is what happens when you work out, and that's the reason I do it. Because if we burn it up for energy, that means there's we have an empty tank in terms of the glucose stores, and the blood glucose or blood sugar in your bloodstreams is able to go where it's supposed to go. So therefore lowering your blood sugar levels. So if you have diabetes like us, your body has trouble regulating blood glucose levels, and alcohol can worsen this. So here's how. The effect of alcohol such as beer on other organs. We as diabetics know that alcoholic beverages like beer can affect the liver, but they can also affect other organs in a harmful way. Drinking too much can affect your health, increase the risk for kidney disease, increase insulin resistance, which is what we have, that's why we're here, and worsen other health conditions, which is what we also have, because with diabetes comes the metabolic syndrome that we're always talking about. So those are the other health conditions that we should be concerned about. So here's what we diabetics should be aware of. So with regard to the pancreas produces insulin and glucagon, both of which are involved in regulating blood sugar levels. And I promise, guys, I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds here in terms of technical things or medical things. I just want to give you a baseline, and then we'll talk about things at the normal level that we talk about things. So the pancreas produces insulin and glucagon, both of which are involved in regulating blood sugar levels. Consuming alcohol can lead to pancreas inflammation, thereby disturbing the creation of insulin. In fact, research has shown that too much alcohol consumption can also cause pancreatitis. That is the pancreas inflammation or swelling of the pancreas, leading to damage and dysfunction of the organ itself. So when it comes to your kidneys, high blood glucose can cause damage to the blood vessels in the kidneys, which also filter out the body's waste, causing them to misbehave or not act accordingly. When we drink alcohol such as beer, our kidneys have to work harder. And this is definitely true when you drink more than a few beers. And we'll talk about how many beers it's recommended that you can drink a day and things like that a little further down. So when it comes to your heart, guys, according to the CDC, diabetes and heart disease are often linked, which is part of our metabolic syndrome that we talk about all the time, right? Having higher blood sugar levels may increase the chance, or the chances, of heart disease and heart complications because it can damage the nerves that control your heart. It also puts a strain on the blood vessels of the heart. On the other hand, low blood sugar can increase your heart rate and lead to cardiac arrhythmias. So if your heart's not beating right, you have some cardiac arrhythmia. That ties to some of the things that we're talking about too, because a lot of the things that we talk about on this channel are actually, they thin your blood. So if you have any cardiac arrhythmias or any heart condition, you need to talk to your medical provider when it comes to drinking alcohol as well, and get proper advice. There's so much research on the positive impacts of alcohol on the heart, but excessive alcohol intake can lead to high blood pressure, heart failure, and sometimes strokes. So when it comes to the brain, guys, it affects our brain as well, and I think you guys know this already. Consistent high blood sugar levels can increase risk factors for health conditions and increase your risk of damage to blood vessels, affecting your brain's white matter and leading to cognitive impairment. Low blood sugar levels can affect your mood, which I think I talked about before. Yeah, your emotional mood has a lot to do with your blood sugar levels. This can lead to headaches, dizziness, and poor coordination. Alcohol can also affect the brain, causing short-term impairment. Excessive consumption of alcohol or beer is linked with long-term brain damage. So I bet you guys didn't know this, but the alcohol in the beer affects your gut as well, guys. I mean, if your gut's not healthy, the rest of your body's not healthy. Forget about it. Your gut controls the entire health of your body. Some evidence suggests that alcohol can cause gut inflammation and affect the gut bacteria or gut flora, interfering with the immune response. It can cause interruption in the body's blood glucose or blood sugar control mechanism or glycemic response. Now, as we all know, some people have problems with their extremities, such as fingers and toes and things like that, their feet. That's why the doctor always tells you to take care of your extremities, take care of your feet, make sure you don't have any sores or cuts or anything like that, make sure it's well hydrated. So with regard to your extremities, prolonged high blood sugar levels can damage blood vessels and nerves in your legs and feet. As we all know, we probably know of people that have had amputations of their toes, of their feet, etc. So poor blood circulation hampers the healing process, and nerve damage can cause pain, tingling sensations, and a lack of muscle control. Prolonged alcohol consumption, such as beer, can impact the nervous system and cause complications such as alcoholic neuropathy. So the neuropathy is where we're talking about the tingling and the numbness in the toes and the fingers and things like that. And that's something that is pretty common to people that are not controlling their diabetes well. So I guess the big question here is, we're all beer drinkers. If you're watching this video, you're probably a beer drinker, right? That's the reason you clicked on it. So how much beer can we as diabetics drink? For most people, there's no harm in indulging in a few drinks once in a while. But the amount that constitutes this moderate drinking, if you will, can vary for everyone. Individuals with diabetes can still savor a cold beer, but it's advisable to consume it in moderation and stay aware of your alcohol intake. According to the dietary guidelines for Americans, it is recommended that men have no more than 2 alcoholic drinks, such as beer, per day, and women no more than 1, which is what I follow, or I have followed once I figured this stuff out. 1 drink is equivalent to 1 12-ounce serving of beer, a 5-ounce glass of wine, or a 1.5 ounce shot of distilled spirits such as vodka, whiskey, gin, rum, and tequila. So here we're talking about beer, guys, but I just wanted to mention a few things about wine and some of the harder whiskey, the harder liquors, if you will. I'll talk about those in separate videos because I had separate experiences with those and they're not exactly the same as with beer. So does the type of beer matter that you drink? I think the answer would be yes. The calorie content of beer and the number of carbohydrates in different beers can vary. What you pick can play a role in your blood sugar levels and weight management, like anything else, right? So you can pick good foods, bad foods, good drinks, bad drinks, good alcohol, bad alcohol, depending on how you utilize it. So, for instance, a 12-ounce bottled beer has around 4 to 5% alcohol by volume, ABV, while a craft beer, your specialty beers that you're seeing everywhere, can have as much as 10% alcohol by volume. Craft beers usually have more calories and are generally higher in carbohydrate contents than bottled beer. Also, drought beers tend to be sold in servings larger than 12 ounces. When it comes to 12-ounce bottled beer, Busch is one of the best choices as it has 6.9 grams of carbs and 114 calories. Budweiser, Coors Banquet, and Stella Artois, the 11.2 ounces, are next with about 10.6, 11.7, and 11.9 grams of carbs, and 145, 147, and 141 calories respectively. Now, I disagree with that, and I'll tell you guys why. There are other beers that are better. Meanwhile, Miller High Life and Corona Extra add 12.2 and 13.9 grams of carbohydrates and 148 calories. So I think the key here is we talk about carbohydrates as diabetics all the time, but calories have a large part to do with your well-being as a diabetic. And it took me, the latter part of me figuring out how to control my blood sugar was figuring out my calorie intake and how to, exercise, lower my calories, not be hungry, and still get the positive effects of a lower blood sugar level. So are low carb beers better for blood sugar control? Everyone asks that question, right? While drinking beer or consuming alcohol, especially if you have diabetes, comes with precautions and challenges, some beers can make things easier. Switching to low carb beer, a low carb beer option might be a good idea as they have less carbohydrate content, and typically, but not always, fewer calories. I tend to go for both. The same number of drinks will put less load on your system if you choose beer with the lower ABV and carbohydrate content. But choosing low carb beer shouldn't be an excuse to drink more. Always monitor your blood glucose levels before and up to 12 hours after drinking to ensure you're not experiencing any dangerous spikes or dips. We'll talk about that as well, because that's what I was doing. I was monitoring. Well, I'll tell you a story at the end. Let me get through this first. It's baseline information. So what are your low carb beer options? So remember I said there's stuff better than what they're talking about immediately above. So light beers have fewer calories and lower carbohydrate content than regular beers. And Miller 64 and Michelob Ultra are friends of the carb watcher, like us, with just 2.4 and 2.6 grams of carbohydrates per 12-ounce serving, respectively. Miller Lite, Natural Light, Busch Light each have 3.2 grams of carbs, with Keystone Light 4.7 grams, Corona Light 4.8 grams, and rounding off the sub 5 gram category for a 12-ounce serving. So how does we as diabetics drink beer without raising our blood sugar? If you have diabetes and enjoy the occasional beer, it's crucial to be aware of potential issues, some of which may not be obvious. Here are some practical tips and advice to consider. Never consume alcohol in place of a meal. So, I like Guinness, stout, and that's like a meal, honestly. But, I would never replace my meal with Guinness or any other beer. So I would advise you not do that as well. So never consume it in place of a meal. Some research shows that drinking but not eating can significantly reduce blood sugar levels for people with diabetes. However, people with diabetes may also experience low blood sugar levels. So let's say you're a type 2 diabetic and your goal is to lower your blood sugar. Your blood sugar can get too low. I mean, below 70 or so, like that. I mean, you can pass out. You can have problems. Okay, so be well aware of that. The goal is not just to lower your blood sugar, but it's to do it in a safe manner. It can also lead to alcohol-induced hypoglycemia, which we just talked about, partly because alcohol impairs the liver's production and release of glucose in the bloodstream. Never drink too much on an empty stomach. People tend to consume more alcohol when drinking on an empty stomach. It can impair the liver's job to release glucose into the bloodstream, causing blood sugar levels to drop. Avoid mixed drinks. There can be a ton of sugar in cocktails, especially sweet ones. I fully agree with that. So we're going to talk about liquor in another video. But these are this is an important thing, the sweetness in some of these liquors and the wines and things like that. If you like sweet alcohol, that's not for us diabetics. Likewise, you should stay away from sweet wines and cordials, just like I just mentioned. And then, of course, drink in moderation. The recommended amount of alcohol in one day is typically 2 drinks for men and 1 for women, as we mentioned previously. Binge drinking can lead to hypoglycemia and other effects that are adverse. So your hypoglycemia, your low blood sugar, and I don't mean low as in good, I mean low as in too low, which can cause an emergency issue where you have to go to the emergency room or the hospital. And don't drink immediately after exercising. So I just got finished exercising. I don't make it a habit of drinking after I exercise because working out can lower blood sugar, and drinking beer or alcohol after exercising can wreak havoc with blood sugar regulation. So in other words, we've already burnt off a bunch of blood sugar, and whatever's left, you don't know if your blood sugar is already low at a, let's say, reasonable level, and now you're drinking alcohol after you're working out, which overall is not a good idea. But you're going to lower your blood sugar more to maybe a dangerous level. So something to always be cognizant of, and always talk to your medical provider about anything that we talk about on this channel. But alcohol can be enjoyed if you're a diabetic. So let's talk about what I've done with regard to drinking beer. I'm a beer drinker. I can't say I drink a lot of beer. I probably drink, I don't know, twice a month I'll drink beer, or something like maybe 3 times a month or so. In the summertime, maybe more often when it's hot outside, because I like a cold beer. But I've made the choices. I've gone with Michelob Ultra, and I've also gone with Corona Premier, which is 2.6 grams of carbs and 90 calories. So you guys see that? That's something I like, and this is a better tasting beer to me, honestly. I'm not promoting Corona, but you know, in this instance, I have to tell you that the 2 beers that I choose particularly that do well for me are Michelob Ultra and Corona Premier, depending on what I can find when I'm out and about. We went out to dinner last night, and I had 2 Corona Premiers, and I've noticed over the years I would do this, and I would notice next morning, and I wouldn't have more than 2 beers, so I'd have 2. I would notice the next morning that my blood sugar would be excellent the next morning. And obviously I ate a good dinner. You know, I wasn't eating on an empty, drinking on an empty stomach, and I ate a good healthy dinner. I mean, I didn't eat a lot of bad carbohydrates. I don't eat French fries. I don't eat those kinds of things. No white rice, anything with white flour. So I try to eat a very reasonable dinner. Maybe it's a hamburger or something like that. I don't know. But on the side, instead of, you know, getting fries on the side, I usually get a side of mixed vegetables if they have it. Like last night, they didn't have mixed vegetables, but they had coleslaw, so I had that, which is the next best thing for me. But what I noticed, that paired together with 1 or 2 beers, the next morning my blood sugar was excellent. Now, I don't recommend that you do that. I recommend you talk to your doctor before thinking about doing that. But that worked for me, and the purpose of this channel is to share what worked for me with you, to point you in the right direction so you can be on the road to success. So that is what I did. So I think that is my talk here, my discussion about beer and how it affects diabetics and our blood sugar. And if you have questions, post it in the comments, post it in the community section. I want to hear from you guys, and let me know how I'm doing on the videos. Am I providing valuable information to you? Some of the things you hear in the videos, they may counter what you hear in other videos. My video is not to give you medical facts. There's a lot of videos out there with medical facts that you can look at. My video is to give you my journey and tell you what has worked for me, and to give you something that you can start with and have a discussion with your healthcare provider. So that's pretty much it for me today, guys. Have a good day, and I hope you get some value out of this video. Thank you.